Welcome to Roleplay Grab Bag, a little conversation discussion about the new Dungeons and Dragons coming out. Happy 50th anniversary, birthday. What are we calling it? Anniversary or birthday? What is it?
It's an anniversary.
Anniversary. Happy
Corporations
50th.
aren't people.
But D&D is like a family.
D&D is
The fourth time we've done this intro.
But this is the one that we're going to keep. So welcome to our little conversation. I think we're going to kick it off and just start of general thoughts. What do you guys think about the new Dungeons and Dragons coming out? Are you going to play it? Are you going to buy it? Did you buy it already? Did you order it? Mo, you look like you have a lot to say.
I am going to buy it because I love capitalism. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of milk
money?
toast.
Oh,
Milk toast. I didn't know what you were
saying, like milk.
I thought
Middling is the word
this.
I'm looking for. Like, I'm kind of lukewarm on it because there are some things I'm like, oh, that'd be cool, but I don't think we're gonna know the full scope of how it works or what's gonna happen until the books come out. We played for a year and things like that. I think
Until the next edition.
Sure, yeah, and I think that news is good news.
Sean, what do you think?
What I think is, just to give a broad overview, they added a bunch of stuff in the playtest I was really excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed like a really different version of the game. And then they took all that out because people complained because they're losers.
Because the internet.
I mean, no one's going to be happy 100%, right?
Right.
And instead of trying to choose a segment and go, this is what we care about, this is our design philosophy, or this is our goal with this edition or this version, they kind of went, well, let's just keep it middle of the road and not change it too much. And that's the real gripe I have with it.
Fair.
He summarized that a lot better than I could. I think it just feels like they're trying to make everyone happy at the same time, so that there's not really anything that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be. I feel like D&D needs to make everyone happy at the same time right now. So I understand why they've done that, but at the same time, that's what we're here to discuss, and we're getting the game that we want. Nathan, what do you think?
So I'm torn between. I'm a fan of minimalism. I just want to play the game and have enough rules to play the game. But then I also think that martial classes needed something, and I do like the martial weapon system. I think there's some testing needed, at least at my table, but it's interesting to me.
Okay, so you would say weapon mastery is your highlight.
Yeah, but I'm not 100% familiar with everything in this.
Oh, sure. You want to test it out. I get you.
There'll be a quiz in the next 5 minutes.
and I'm kind of in the same boat, even as the moderator, is I'm not well versed on everything. I haven't read everything that's out there, but that's why I think these discussions are important for people like me who don't know and haven't read everything out, to get like hear some opinions of what is out there and kind of glean some information that they might not have read about.
And that's why I also wanted to get off the internet and talk about this.
Yes.
And then put that conversation on the internet.
Yes.
Because I need to get outside of my bubble, which is just, Reddit and maybe the Wizards, the D&D Beyond forums. I'd love to hear what random people I don't know would like to say about what they love or hate about the new edition.
And you forgot to mention at RPGB TV, which you're always on.
Yes, indeed. Or, the comments below this video.
Yes. YouTube.
One thing I will say is that, and I heard somebody else say this, I forget who, but no matter what happens, like, I think that people who are happy with the changes and the updates in the new book are going to be happy with it, and the people who don't like it are not going to like it. And what I mean by that is anybody who doesn't like what they're including in the book is just going to make up their own stuff anyway, because that's what we always do.
Yeah.
And even if we thought the book was great and the changes were all improvements and, oh man, this is going to be so great, it still doesn't mean that we're not going to just make up all the stuff on our own.
Or play a previous edition, because I've been to conventions like running games and whatnot where there's a table that literally plays like advanced D&D still, and those rules, and they're always packed. So
No THACO.
But
No THACO.
so to that question, do we think that this is a new edition? Why do we think that they don't want to call it a new edition?
Because that band was already... Sorry, I just dated myself.
Oh, I didn't hear what you said.
You talked
New
about
Edition?
New Edition, the band.
Oh,
That was
Ha-ha!
four people.
Cut that out. Cut that out.
So-
We just lost viewers.
so here's a topic we could bring up.
Yeah.
Is this a new edition? even if they're not calling it a new edition. If it's not a new edition, why aren't they calling it like why this little in between phase where they're like this is the 2024 Player's Handbook. Now we know they changed the branding from 1D&D and all that stuff, but I'm wondering what the impetus for not just calling it a new edition. Now, I'd like to believe it's because there's just not enough rule changes, which would be the logical reason for them not to call it a new edition. But I don't think, I'm a little more cynical than that. And I think one of the major reasons they're not doing it is because they think if they call it a new edition, a bunch of people who don't want to play the new edition are going to say, oh, I don't want to. I'll just
Learn
keep
a
playing.
bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but I
They're
feel
not going
like
to buy the books.
I feel like on that, people are still going to consider it a new edition. So if they call it a new edition or not, it's considered a new edition. I do also feel like in today's day and age with video games, or role playing games or whatever, it's more of a, we're not going to call it a new edition because everything's just kind of like organically turns into, it evolves. It's an evolution more than a new edition, even though it's a new edition. But I feel like people are getting away from like calling it part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6, part 7, whatever. Like even with movies nowadays, you don't call it like Mission Impossible 12. It's Mission Impossible whatever.
Dead
Like,
Reckoning Part 1.
exactly, Dead Reckoning Part 1. Well, I guess the next one we know what it's going to be. But I feel like people are getting away from numbers because it almost dates it, or there's just I think a societal evolution instead of a progression.
I also think we're missing a trick here because they want to evoke the 50th anniversary as much as possible, it feels like. So putting the year in the title makes sense. But I also think they've got some psychic trauma from when they had 3.5 and everyone was like, oh, this is really good. We like this. And they were like, all right, and here's 4th edition. It's really different. And they went, so you're telling me Pathfinder exists? And I genuinely think they were like, oh, we made a mistake making a new edition that was that different. And we left all these people to be absorbed by other game systems.
Yeah, fair. Especially with like, game systems like Daggerheart coming out where it's going to be,
I'm sure
there's
they've had
definitely
Yeah.
competition out there now for this genre other than like, Pathfinder, Daggerheart. Phone keeps going off. I'm going to put that away so we don't get the vibrations.
But I think to that point, it's because D&D is the biggest one. It's the top dog, the top dog. That it is beholden to. It is being directed way more by the consumers of it rather than real design choice and innovation on a gaming and mechanical and structural point of view. Because smaller games can do that, right? Because they don't care. They're going to make the game they want to make. But as soon as it becomes this popular and it's this profitable, all of a sudden they're like, what do you want? We'll just give you more of that. And so even if people, I don't always think people know what's best for them. And I think a lot of times when they...
Not until corporations tell us.
Right. Right. So I don't think people always know what's best for them. I think that a lot of times people want everything, especially now in the video game era where, oh, I want to be a wizard fighter who can do everything all at once, and I don't want to have any boredom at the table, and I don't want to have to stop and pause and figure this stuff out. I don't want to have to use as much strategy. I want to use more strategy, right? Like forcing all of that into the design of D&D has made it very generic, which is, I think, what they've hoped to achieve because it makes people feel like they can do with whatever they want with D&D.
So are you saying that they're trying to target more of a like a broader audience to get more people playing it because it's easy and doesn't take a lot of thought, or are they looking for like, like are they making it less crunchy in your opinion?
Well, I think they've been doing that. I think the people who want to make it more crunchy do have other tools and other games they can do that with. But I think the whole thing has been, how do we get more players? How do we get players to buy the books? How do we get to, we heard all that with the 1D&D stuff. And so everything is to the point of casual Joe who just wants to hop on the internet really quick and play a game of D&D and not have to like figure out all this math and figure out how to strategically attack these goblins can do that. And in the same regard, theoretically, us grognards from the older eras can go back and be like, well, let's just superimpose fourth edition or whatever.
Wasn't that the purpose of Adventures League, where you don't have to worry about finding a group or a campaign, but you can just jump in at any point and play a story. I felt like that was the point of Adventures League, to get more people playing who aren't connected to like this. You have to always have the people who can show up and plan dates and whatever. You can just show up at your local comic book store, jump into an Adventure League game, play, and then kind of get the benefits of almost was it 4.0 that was very like World of Warcraft?
Yeah. So that's what
Yeah.
I was about to say, is their appeal to the less crunch, just start playing, was 4th edition. And I actually think it was fairly successful. Like when you printed out that character sheet, you just had buttons, cards, buttons that you went, I'm going to hit this one because I can do it as many times as I want. This is once per day. I'm going to hit this one. I'm going to use it. And a lot of people now are happy to admit that they like that. But
I'm not.
But the reaction made them go, we have to go for a Goldilocks level of crunch. We got to go medium or we lose the old audience.
Yeah, I didn't
have to
play
bring
4.0
forward.
at all because of reading it, and what I heard about it in my group was just like, that's the worst thing they've ever done to Dungeons and Dragons. And I rolled up a character for 4.0 and never
But
played.
I think the key word there is Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
If it was some other completely different game with a different name, it probably still exists.
I think so. I think you're 100%
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
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 What an insightful comment.
So can we capitalize on
I
that?
actually like that game, especially as a dungeon master. I
Yeah.
think it gave you a lot of
More-
tools, but as a player, you're like, this isn't D&D.
Well, and that's the thing, is we always fear change, right? Especially if you're used to, this is the D&D I'm comfortable with. And
Right.
again, like everybody's pointed out, I don't think there's enough change here to really, like, the only conflict I see really is that, oh, I found a fighter that I want to play. I want to play a fighter. Great. All right, I got it off the internet. Okay, great. My DM is operating under the idea that fighter has these abilities. Now, the fighters have new abilities, and my player is throwing new abilities at me. I'm having to learn these new abilities. So it's requiring more. It's requiring some legwork of people who are already DMing
Yeah.
to relearn things. But it's not. It's only giving to players. It's only giving to players.
But I feel like as player, I mean, even we play 5e, and there's still things that, like, you know, some of our old timers think of, like, oh wait, what was that? What version was that in? Or how does flanking work? Or how does or whatever it is, where we think of stuff that came up in other editions, which are either alt rules for 5e or are different. And I feel like that happens a lot, like with whatever version you're going to go to. I think it's not just on the DM. I think the players who are continuing players are going to have to relearn everything too, because they're going to think of, you know, rangers or fighters of how they were in 5e, and now the changes, which we're going to discuss eventually.
Hey, I would love it if they had just come out and gone, the jump rules are based on an athletics check. And that's
You and
the
the
only
jump.
thing you ever need to know about jump rules. I'm sorry, there were certain things they could have just fixed.
Yeah.
You can just go,
Did
we fixed the
they-
6 biggest complaints people have about the rules.
Did they sort out, is jump part of your movement, not part of your movement?
It's
Can
part
you
of your-
move and jump?
It's part of your movement, but
Unless it's
based on your height.
magical, is it effective if it's magical? Is it So,
Where's my 6th
Where-
edition? That's all I want.
Sixth
Just give me a 6th edition where
Yeah, I
you
was
go,
thinking-
jumping is this.
When are
Jump
they going to
edition.
do a classless game? Because you were talking about everybody wants to do the fighter, magic user, everything. But what if every level you just got to pick what you took?
All invocations is what I've been pitching for a year.
Right.
Just let everything be an invocation and you pick pieces as you want to go. People would rebel, right?
Well,
So-
it wouldn't be a class system, so it wouldn't be D&D, and then you'd have 4th edition again, even if it was a better game.
I'm
Well-
anti-class systems.
I agree.
Power of the proletariat. Like many things, when it changes, like there are these. I'm gonna start that over again. Anytime there's a new version of something that comes out, there is a impetus to attack it and to say, "Oh, this is terrible," and why are they doing this? I do think that we're in an interesting time right now, because there are people who are just coming to D&D for the very first time, and that is who did not necessarily come to D&D from D&D. They
Right.
came from Baldur's Gate 3, for example. And so they have an expectation for what D&D is supposed to look like. So I think a lot of what you see in the player's handbook is it's a lot of shiny packaging of things, new features that you're getting, and some of them are mechanically weighty, and some of them are not. Some of them are just like you can change the color of your dice or whatever. And I think that that's part of the problem.
More is better. More changes, in my opinion, just would be better because then I could literally pick between editions.
But what you're saying is you want more.
You mean
you
like-
want more
Huh?
concrete. You don't care what the shiny new packaging is. You don't care if they call the feature a new name. You want the problem that you see in the game fixed.
Yeah, either
Jump.
give more either give more options or actually streamline the things that I don't think there's anyone who's going, no, I want the jump rules to stay the same.
Wait, do you want it more plug and play? As it like you can take this section from 5e and this section from and just
No. What I mean is
kind of do that
if they released
session 0.
for example, this 2024 edition, and they had all the crafting rules and the weapon masteries and all these things, and they said this is completely compatible, which is what they are saying,
Yeah.
then I would almost want them to just release it as a supplement, like actually
Atasha's, like another
yeah,
Atasha's,
but like a really extreme one.
Beefy.
Yeah, and then that way you can literally go, let's try out these 3 things in our game that we're currently playing.
Okay.
And then we can toss it out if we don't like it.
But see, that's where I get a little bit like feisty because I'm like, that's what they should have done. Like because
But haven't you always been able to do that in D&D? Like if you like something, put it to your table. But that's why you have a session 0. That's why you talk to your group about, hey, this is my table rules. This is what this is how we're going to deal with jump. And then it's known, and that's what it is. I mean, with this new non-version or past versions or whatever, I feel like you can still do that. You can still take the new rules, the old rules, and then your table comes out and figures out what you're going to play at your table.
But see, I think that's the based on the assumption of you already being a player. I'm saying a new person has no interest. Most new
Fair.
people have no interest going back playing something that's older. They're like, well, this is the rules. So for them, this new player handbook 2024 is the standard. And so they learn like, oh, different DMs choose and pick and different rules and stuff like that. But most people, the people who are going to be propelling D&D forward in the future, are going to be younger people who have the time to play, who can do all these things, and they are going to go off that book, not off the other book. And so just like with previous editions, right, we may like things about 2nd edition or 4th edition or whatever. We can add those to our games, but no new person is going, I want to add this more complicated thing or this old thing to my game, right?
But do they need to? I mean, if they don't know about it, either they'll research, will know about it, or they won't know about it and it won't affect their table.
It will work well. I think it will work well for new players, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
they've tried to keep the simplified, 5th edition. Yeah, there's a lot of rules, but you can get into it fairly quickly. You can do a session and have a general idea. I know what skills are, I know what my abilities are, and I understand I have an action, a bonus action, a movement. That you can get done, and it's the same. And I guess I want everything to be tailored specifically towards me, just for my benefit.
Right. You want it
But
to be
that's
called
what I would prefer.
Shaun and Dragons.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would rather they went, Shaun, we didn't, instead of going, here's a warlock that's slightly different, they should go, we've made a class called the Witchblade, and all of it is invocations now.
And,
Right.
But to play devil's advocate, I also do think that in today's day and age of role-playing games in general, they're so broad now and so many more people are playing them. There's a bigger audience that Wizards of the Coast has to target instead of like a small little audience that plays these in the closet because you can't tell anybody in public that you play role-playing games. So I feel like they do need to make it broader to some degree and reinvent it to some degree for all these new people coming in to catch them and to keep them in here and to show them that you can make your table like a Critical Role or a role play grab bag. I just wanted to put our name with them, or Dimension 20 or whatnot. Like you can make your table that, and here's all the ways to do it, which I think we should start discussing. Other than opinions on this, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this game.
Sure.